processes and practices for elections are followed in Ford County, but not fully within the letter of state law. Those are findings in the latest audits completed for state lawmakers after raising concerns to findings released last year.
The Ford County clerk says some of the expectations are not feasible just days before an election. Fact Finder looked into these findings last year. Sean logging today on this latest report. Sean?
Like Rachel, these follow-up audits are focused on two main areas: the ballot reconciliation process and tabulation machine testing. Now, this was measured during the 2024 general election last November. The audit says what the county did to ensure both of these was adequate, but found some things that were not fully complying with state law. It's another look at Ford County's elections. At Monday's meeting presenting the findings, state lawmakers coming to different conclusions on what they show.
Exposed many holes in our election system, and we need to address them.
The expectation of testing all machines 5 days prior to the election is flawed in itself.
The Kansas Legislative Division of Post-Audit finding on ballot reconciliation. Ford County had an adequate process to make sure the number of ballots cast matched the number of voters. But the auditors found small issues with 2 provisional voters not completing the check-in process with a signature and 1 provisional ballot not properly sealed as required by state law.
Switch gears over to our second limited scope audit.
This one focused on the testing of tabulation machines before and after an election for accuracy. The first audit in 2022 found the practices weren't adequate.
In this audit, we found Ford County's testing process was generally adequate to ensure the accuracy of tabulation machines, but the tests either weren't completed within statutory timelines or didn't include all tabulation machines.
The audit says that all equipment had a pre- and post-election tests, but the law requires it to happen within 5 days before and 5 days after. Ford County had the required public test 4 days before with limited equipment. The Ford County clerk says it was all tested before early voting started, and doing it just days before the election isn't practical.
2 machines this year in our testing, 1 tabulator that would not work at all. I had to send that in, and I had a touch screen that I had to send in. When I get those back, they send loaners to me. I have to test those. There would be no way, because it takes usually 2 days for them to get those back to us.
The Secretary of State's office was interviewed for the audit. It says that while all equipment needs to be tested, it disagrees with the interpretation of the law that it requires all tabulators to be tested just 5 days before an election. In response to the audit, Cox also says that human error happens and that she remains committed to training her staff. Auditors also provided lawmakers with recommendations to update state laws to add clarity and specifics.